Here's a fun topic I had suggested, and this will be really interesting for me to just run through because there is no prep. I'm telling you right now, I'm just going to talk about it. The topic is, what do I do on a travel day when nothing goes according to plan? I will tell you right now, I have been extraordinarily fortunate in my travels that most of the time, I'm going to knock on some wood, things go according to plan. I talked in some other videos about why I think that is, but let's talk about what happens when things do not go right. I'll just bring up some examples as I can think of them. The most recent example that you may or may not have heard me talk about was when I was recently in Nice, and you gotta love Europe. There's always a train strike. Yeah, at least when I'm there, there's always a train strike. And I was supposed to take the train between Nice and Toulouse, actually two trains. And lucky me, the second train was canceled because of the strike, which was fine. It wasn't a big deal. I had anticipated that happening because I've been watching the news, but uh, the question is, what do you do when things go wrong? And for me, that was really easy. Um, I was prepped. The number one thing when things go wrong is you need to trust yourself and the preparation that you have done in advance. And so when I got the email that my train was canceled, I already knew there was a flight out the next day that I could get on, and it wasn't going to cost me much more money. I was going to get to the same place, same ish time, and that was that. There really was no stress around it. And that was due to a couple things. One, because I've traveled for so long and this has happened before, that I just, I'm really not phased about it like I used to be. The second reason that it was not a big deal is because I had done prep work in advance, because I was aware of what was going on in France. I had read the news. I had talked to my hotel's front desk. I knew what was going on. I was able to do some of the legwork prior to receiving that email. So I had already researched additional trains and researched planes, and then pretty much made the decision that if anything happened to my train, or either one of my trains in this case, that I was going to cancel and take the flight. Speaking of cancellations, I also knew that because the train was canceled, that I was going to receive a full refund, and that would cover my flight. So I just knew. So that's really the big things that I recommend there for when things like that go wrong, if you have a heads up. So let's talk about a situation where maybe you do not have a heads up that things are going to go wrong. That can be extraordinarily stressful. One of the more more prominent times that happened to me, it was, I really could go two ways with this, so we might tell both stories. The most recent one was weather related. It was, well, they wrote it off as weather related. There there was an issue with an airline in the United States that the things did not go well for them that day, and because things did not go well for them that day, it didn't go well for the rest of us that were trying to fly. And that was not a fun experience, because you can't get a straight answer from anybody, whether you call, chat, or whoever you're working with at the airport, whichever representative they have, whether that's a gate agent or their customer service. It was a nightmare that day. My flight was canceled. They got me on the next flight out. I sat on that plane for 3 hours. They pulled us off. I ended up having to get my own hotel out of pocket that night, just stay in a city that I didn't plan on staying in. It all worked out. I ended up getting on a early morning flight the next day. But the number one thing when this happens, and it's not just when you're flying, it's in any situation where things just do not go according to plan, you need to stay as calm as you possibly can. Screaming, yelling, taking it out on the people who are trying to help you, whether that's the gate agent, the person on the phone, the person in the chat, another help desk at the airport. It doesn't, getting mad at them is not going to get you anywhere. I by all means think there is a balance between being persistent, but still being polite. They're doing what they can. Things are changing on a second by second basis because you're not the only person that's having a problem. They're trying to sort themselves out. You're trying to sort yourself out. So patience is a huge thing. Having some understanding, some empathy, some compassion for these people and for the people around you as well. Tensions are high. Energy is gonna not be fun to be around in the airport. So being patient is key. I know if you have someone outside of the situation that you can call and you can vent to and you can lean on for that support, that's where you need to put your energy. That's where you need to put your frustrations. And maybe it's not a person. Maybe you are a journaler and you can vent it to your journal. Maybe you can vent to a voice note and delete it later. Whatever it takes to get that energy out, that negative energy out in a way that doesn't negatively affect another person, especially someone that's helping you is a huge thing. So on the flip side of that, not even the flip side, the other example that I thought of is this was years ago and I did not handle it well because I was much, much younger. So thank heavens for my parents being there for me. But I was diverted because of storms. I landed finally at the airport that I needed to catch my international flight. And the plane was still on the ground, and absolutely nobody at the airline would help me. There was no prioritization for those of us that could still have made our flights. Um, and I'll never forget it. I will never ever fly that airline again. We won't name names. Um, but that was bad. That was a really bad situation. It was not my finest moment, but I don't recommend this, but the thing that finally worked was sitting down in protest in the line. I must have made quite an impact by just sitting down because I ended up with someone who must have been a manager, and this person was able to get me on the next flight almost immediately. And when I got to the gate agent was so kind. I'll never forget her. She was able to move me to my own row. So while it was not my finest moment, it worked out in the end. And maybe that's something that should be kept in mind when you get into these situations, is to remember that it is all going to work out, and as hard as it is to keep that at the forefront of your mind when it seems like the world is ending because your flight's delayed, canceled, your train's canceled, you can't get where you're going, you're gonna miss meeting up with friends, you're gonna miss dinner with friends, you're gonna no, you're just not gonna get to where you need to be when you need to be there. Just keep the perspective that I promise you it is all gonna work out in the end. There are obviously situations where that's very hard and maybe doesn't apply. If someone's health is failing, for example, then by all means, you're gonna need to process that how you process that. But still, keep in mind patience. People I found in my travels really they're very kind and generous. They really do wanna help. It's just sometimes there are situations where they can't, and everybody's doing their best. So, um, yeah, those are a couple examples. I'm trying to think of what other times when things have gone completely wrong. Oh god, there was one moment, it was so not my finest moment, far from it, and I was a kid at this point, so take that with a bottle of salt, forget the grain of salt. Sometimes you gotta have faith that things are just gonna work out. There was one time that I had a carry-on bag, and my friend and I, funny enough, we had the same carry-on bag, and we had almost identical souvenirs in it. It was just like the wildest situation, and her gate agent said it was fine. My gate agent said I had to check it, and I was upset about it, of course, but, you had no choice. I got checked, and I realized pretty quickly that there was an item in there I should not have checked, and I was very, very worried about it. There was no way to get it back. My parents called the airline, they couldn't get it back. The adults I was with couldn't get it back. No one could give me this bag back just to take out the one item. All's well that ends well. The item arrived, safely. I still have that item today. Um, I won't go into detail into what it is, but it's a very precious item to me. It's very special, and it actually is an item that does not leave the United States because it is that sentimental to me. But it was not my finest moment. So I guess what do you do in those situations when you've already lost it emotionally, like I did, guilty as charged? I think it's very important to have resources that you can lean on that are, like 1 degree of separation from it. In that case, it was my parents who were obviously much more level-headed about it. It was trying to work with the adults that were there on the group trip as our leaders in the situation. And um, I think that's important when you completely lost your brain about something that you have someone who still has their brain. So those are just some of the things that I do, and when things just do not go according to plan, I think stay calm, have patience, be prepped if you know that potentially the situation is going to come up. Even if you don't know it's going to come up, just be prepped. Know your options. Have a plan B. I always have a plan B for everything. Wild as that is, please see my niece story. It has saved me. It's come in handy. So all that to be said. Oh, and then lean on other people around you who are so level-headed. But all that to be said, our little helper here, she's looking at me. She says it's time to stop jabbering. So on that bombshell, I'll catch you on the next one. I'm excited to keep building the channel. I'm excited to have you guys here, and I look forward to just um adding more of this little corner of the internet. So we will catch you on the next one. Bye.